All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mr. Kester Amos again. So we are actually in the battery cage today. Actually, I'm feeding the birds right now. And one of the things we do in the battery cage system is to feed the birds. The water system runs itself, and of course, manually we feed them. You have an automated feeding system, but these cages are not automated. Of course, the industrial poultry farms usually do the automation because it helps to reduce the cost of labor. When you have up to 20, 30,000 birds, it is better for you to automate it so that you reduce the cost of labor. And that way, you don't have to go through a whole lot paying salaries to tens of hundreds of persons. So you can automate that. But when you are running a small poultry, you don't need automation. But we can call this a semi-automated system because the water system is automated. It is only the feeding and the egg collection that is manual. And of course, when you have a battery cage system for your laying beds, it is always advantageous because they give you neat eggs. The eggs are cleaner, and also the chances of the birds pecking on the eggs is not there. And also the eggs coming with a lot of stains is not there, like when you have the birds on deep litter system. When they are on deep litter system, there are chances that the eggs will be stained, and also there are chances that the birds could crack the eggs. And also there's the stress of picking the eggs randomly within the deep litter house. But in the battery cage system, you don't have to go through all that trouble because the eggs roll down to the egg collector and you pick up your eggs. So when moving birds into the battery cage, ensure that there is feed already in the feeders, and also make sure you have your water system running and functioning properly. And also, because of the stress of transferring the birds from the deep litter to the battery cages, you are expected to give anti-stress or some form of multivitamins to the birds during the transfer process. So we have right there an anti-stress in that water, which will help to ease the stress of the birds moving from the floor to the cage system. And of course, they are just coming into the cages for the first time, so it's a little bit weird and strange to them. So all of this can bring up stress on the birds, and that's not good for the birds. So of course, you give them anti-stress and make sure you have feed readily available for the birds, because you don't want to put them in the cages and there are no feeds. The birds will begin to battle for territorial superiority within the cage. As you can see, we have 4 birds to a cell, and if you don't have feed in there, when you bring them in, they start fighting and all of that. So before the birds came in, we just gave them their Komarov vaccine, which was done on the 10th week. And of course, they are 11 weeks and a few days today. So we are moving them into the cages. Sometimes you see some birds that are 12 weeks old. They will be coming out from these cages. That is because the birds were not properly fed. Poultry has their feed intake per day. So when you are running a poultry farm, you must give the birds what their body require per day. So if that is not met, you will see birds of 15, 16 weeks old that cannot stand or stay inside the cage. That is why we continue to emphasize that you have your own birds raised from day old, and not to go ahead and get points of lay. But this is also not to say that we don't have good farms where you can get point of lay. There are some very good farms with good pedigree where you can have point of lay birds. But then the best form of poultry production, layer production, still remains raising your birds from day old. So to do that, of course, you need 2 buildings: the deep litter house and the battery cage house. So the deep litter is used to raise the birds from day old till they are about 12 to 14 weeks. Then you move them to the battery cage house. So this is the battery cage house, and I'm actually feeding the birds on the battery cage. So these are 3-tier um, battery cages, of course. So you can see what I'm doing is actually feeding So we're feeding the birds. This is for their evening ration. So the birds are taking 2 bags of feed per day at this stage. I will continue to increase it as they continue to grow. Now there's a specific amount of feed that a single bird is expected to take a day. So we multiply that quantity by the total number of birds and administer the feed. So that will tell you what quantity of feed the birds will consume a day. So it's quite simple. If you continue to follow us, we're going to make a video on how you know the quantity of feed a bird takes, and also with that we'll tell you how to calculate the quantity of feed your birds require per day. Because if the feed is not met, the required feed is not met, then it means the birds will not do well. Of course, the animals are very selfish. Before they produce, they have to meet up their body's requirements. So what they use to produce is the excess nutrients after they have met their body's nutritional requirement. What is left is what they use to produce meat for meat producing birds, broilers, and egg for egg producing birds, layers, milk for milk producing animals like the dairy cow. So they need to first feed to meet up their body's requirement, then the excess is what goes into production. So if you don't feed your animals adequately, then it means the animals will not do well. Animals will give back to you what you give to them. You feed them very well, they grow very well. You feed them poorly, they grow poorly. And your birds will not lay when they are supposed to lay. And that would be an economic loss to you, the farmer. So there's a lot we have to offer you at Kester Amos Consultancy Services Limited. We have over 240 something videos. So do well to follow us on livestock production. We are into poultry, as you're seeing. We are into pig production, rabbit production, grass cutter, fish production, snail production, and all of that. So until we come your way again, it is your number one animal scientist, Mr. Amos Kester Ibiwe. And of course, I advise you do subscribe and share this video to your friends, because there are a lot of persons looking for this information and they don't know where to get it. So this is coming at the right time. Thank you. God bless you. I have to go back to my work now. Bye bye.